Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Cricket Show. I'm your host, Earl Beerston. Joining me shortly will be my co-host, Andre Doc Manders. What we'll do is we'll run down some of the scores from this weekend, starting with yesterday's matches in the first division. PHC won by 49 runs over Somerset Bridge. PHC scored 118 for 4, and Somerset Bridge were all out for 69. St. David's Cricket Club won by 87 runs over Flats Victoria. St. David's scored 176 for 4 and bowled Flats out for 89. Devonshire Recreation Club won by 87 runs over Willowcotts. Devonshire Recreation Club scored 179 for 6 and then bowled Willowcotts out for 92. In the Premier Division yesterday, St. George's Cricket Club won by 9 wickets over Cleveland County. Cleveland County batted first and were all out for 76. St. George's scored 80 for 1. Bailey's Bay won by 74 runs over Warwick Workmen's Club. Bailey's Bay scored 111 for 8 and then bowled Warwick Workmen out for 37. Somerset Cricket Club won by 43 runs over Southampton Rangers. Somerset Cricket Club scored 151 for 8 in their 20 overs and then only allowed Southampton Rangers to score 108 for 7 in reply. Today's action saw Willowcotts in the first division win by 22 runs over Somerset Bridge. Willowcotts scored 115 for 7, and the Somerset Bridge were 93 for 9. St. David's Cricket Club won by 8 wickets over PHC. PHC only managed 67, and St. David's scored 70 for 2. Devonshire Recreation Club won by 3 wickets over Flats Victoria. Flats Victoria scored 128 for 6. Devonshire Recreation Club scored 130 for 7. In the Premier Division, St. George's Cricket Club won by 79 runs over the Somerset Cricket Club. St. George's Cricket Club scored 190 for 5, and Somerset Cricket Club were all out for 111. Cleveland County won by 3 wickets over Warwick Workmen's. Warwick Workmen's scored 73 for 8, and Cleveland County scored 74 for 7. Bailey's Bay won by 5 wickets over Western Stars. Western Stars scored 149 for 8, and Bailey's Bay scored 150 for 5. We're joined now by my co-host, Andre Doc Manders. Doc, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. How everything's good?
Yeah, some interesting scores this past weekend. We see the likes of Western Stars, falling a game this weekend. Bailey's Bay picking up 2 wins. St. George's picking up 2 wins. Somerset were on a roll, picking up a win last week, a win yesterday, but unfortunately went down to defeat today. Devonshire Recreation Club, back-to-back wins this weekend. St. David's back-to-back wins in the first division. PHC split. Somerset Bridge lost twice. So, I mean, it's very interesting how these teams, especially in the 2020, are shaping up.
Yeah, 2020 is a fast game. So I think most teams now prefer to bet first, especially if it's a good wicket, and put pressure on, the teams by betting first. But, there's some interesting scores. Look like St. George's is pretty well on top of the 2020 right now with, lead in the tables. Bailey's Bay has got two wins now. So it looked like it's between St. George's and Bay in the Premier. And in the first division, it looked like St. David's and Willowcotts and running away with that.
Yeah. Willowcotts had a bit of a bare patch yesterday, but bounced back today with a strong performance against Somerset Bridge. The growing concern, yesterday I saw Somerset Bridge and PHC play. PHC last week got built out really, really cheap. They only had 9 men. Yesterday they only had 10. Today they only had 10. So it's kind of difficult if you're going to try to put in an effort. If you're short a man, and you're batting first, if things are not going, it puts more pressure on you.
Yeah, especially with 2020, 10 man, it's pretty difficult. Any team playing with 10 man. It's pretty difficult setting fields, and you got the power players and stuff like that. So and you got to realize this time of the year, players is football season, players are going back to school. So a
Hmm.
lot of players are struggling for teams. Like I saw today, he was playing with Irving Romain. Some senior guys coming out to help. Some of
Right.
the even in the first division, some of the guys are coming out to help out. So in a way, it's good because I'd rather go to with 11 men than playing with 10. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Even if that person stands and he slips.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So and I always thought going late into September is gonna be a problem for teams if players as soon as football season starts and schools in.
Right, right.
But it's good to say that a lot of teams are still playing well. A lot of
Right.
runs have still been scored, and the wickets are still pretty good too. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
You
just
know
the
what?
available. Yeah, I just say it's just the availability of players.
Yeah. You know what made it, I thought would have made it a little different was the funding aspect of it all now with the funds offered for the teams where they finish and so forth. I thought that might have been a little more incentive for guys to hang around just a little longer. But I guess with the football season going with all 10 teams in the Premier Division playing in the Dudley Eve, that kind
Yeah,
of would have put, a damper on some players not being available, to now not be available to play cricket because they're involved in
in the
their kind
football.
of first love, which is football.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of these guys play two sports, so you can. I mean, you can't really knock them in it.
Right.
Some of them probably prefer football over cricket too. But
Mhm.
I'm sure if the football games wasn't played during the time that the games were scheduled, they probably would play cricket. Um,
Mhm.
but it's kind of difficult. One overlaps the other, and it's just one of those things where I think the BFA and the cricket board needs to come to terms with that. But it's always been like that.
Yeah. But you,
A
but
lot
you
of
know
like
what's
say,
funny, Doc? It's funny you say that. But you know who make up the Bermuda Football Association and the Bermuda Cricket Board? The clubs. So
yeah,
so what confuses me a lot is if okay, we'll use the club grounds, St. George's, St. David's, Devonshire Rec, Somerset, PHC,
Seabreeze,
Southampton Rangers. What's that? White
Seabreeze
Hill.
over.
No, well, no, I'm talking dual. I'm talking dual.
Oh,
So you
dual,
you
dual,
have
yeah,
you have you have seven or eight dual clubs, right? That
dual.
play both sports. Don't they all go to the same meeting? Don't they go to the cricket meeting and to the football meeting? So if there's an overlap, they're the ones who should be ones kind of, saying, look, hold on, because we're still doing this or we're still doing that. That's where the problem starts, right there in a, in
Yeah,
a, in a meeting.
yeah, but I think if you look at a lot of the football games, they play at nights, and I've been using like
Yes,
Goose got BA Field and Devonshire
right.
Rack.
Yes,
Um, one or two games is maybe be played in the afternoon, but I get since the availability of the fields come.
right.
I think it's like maybe about 1 more week or 2 more weeks for these games anyway, isn't it? The cricket.
Yeah, yeah.
So
They got
I'm
two more.
kind
They
of
got two
winding
more.
down.
Yeah, we're winding down. We got still
Yeah.
what? It finishes. Is the final round September 24th or is it October 1st?
Uh, that's a good question, isn't it? Because I know
Yeah,
they're trying to finish it before September the 24th. Some teams
right.
is playing they play each team twice.
Twice,
So
right, right,
some teams is playing the second game, second team
right.
around now. So
Yeah, everybody's
it's
playing in
gonna
the second round now. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, everybody's playing the second round now. So it's basically winding down. It's going to be interesting if you look at it now. See who's going down in the 2020 because it's still
right.
teams are still battling for that too.
Yeah,
And then who's
Yeah,
coming up too?
if you look at it, pretty much like you have already said, St. David's was pretty. You can almost guarantee St. David's coming up in the 2020 to the Premier Division. Willicott's got the edge, looking to come up as well. But going down, I mean, Warwick's only won that one game. And now Somerset.
Cleveland's won one.
Yeah, Cleveland's won one. Somerset's won two. So it's going to be very interesting who goes down.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where we have to wait until that final round, because a team could get hot next weekend and win two games and put themselves right out of that mess. You know what I mean?
Right out.
It could just happen like that. Yeah.
Right out of it.
I mean, look at Somerset. Somerset hadn't won a game in 50 overs, no 2020 leading up to last week. Then all of a sudden they got a win, and then they got another win.
Yeah.
So they're not out of the woods, but they have that now feeling like, okay, we could get another win or another two wins. We'll be all right.
When they were up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. What we're going to do is we'll take our first commercial break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at the scores from yesterday, and then obviously the scores from today. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy. But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born. I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Welcome back. Well, Doc, yesterday in the Premier Division at Lords and St. David's, Cleveland County won the toss against St. George's. They elected to bat, and they scored 76. They were built out for 76. Kushai Darrow was the top scorer with 30. Onias Bascom took 5 wickets for 15 runs over 3.4 overs. And then in reply, St. George's scored 80 for 1. It's Alan Douglas, the top scorer, on 40. Mackay Young took 1 for 26 for Cleveland County. St. George's just seemed to be on a roll.
Yeah, the hit form. 2020, that champions. So, I'm pretty sure they want to make sure that they retain that trophy. Because you got to remember, in the 50 overs, they didn't do too well. They struggled a bit.
Yes.
But now in the 2020, they have this pretty decent all-round team. So you look at the team, and it's a fairly good team on paper. And once you got a guy like Alan Douglas in the team that could destroy any building attack at any time.
Right.
It makes them candidates to win the league again. You know, not only Allen, they have you know, Mackay Simmons is making runs. They got Onias. You know, they got a fairly good Berlin attack. You know, so yeah, they're looking pretty good.
Yeah. And then Bailey's Bay, they played at Southampton Noble. They took on Warwick Weckmans. Warwick Weckmans won the toss, sent Bay to bat. Bay scored 111 for 8 in their 20 overs. Not sure if they thought that was enough, but Taryn Frey was the top scorer of 36. Jamar Stovall for Warwick Weckmans took 2 for 14 from 4. However, Warwick were billed out for 37. Not one batsman made double figures. Not even the extras made double figures. Kyle Swan and Keon Butterfield were the top scorers with 8 each. Kyle Hutzel took 3 for 11 from 3 overs to lead Bailey's Bay. I mean, 111 for 8. Warwick would have thought they had an opportunity to pick up a win, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, that's a tool that they must have been pretty comfortable chasing. But what was that game played to?
Southampton Oval.
Yeah, and the Sampson, that's a small field too, smaller field. Yeah, they must have felt pretty comfortable. But then again, you got to remember, Bayless Bay's got one of the most potent building attack in all the teams anyway. So you know, they've got a good variety of Bayless. So they must have felt comfortable for 111 too, because you know, Warwick's been struggling for runs in the last maybe 5-6 games anyway. I think that they're dependent on Malachi to make a bulk of their runs.
Yeah, he only was able to get 2, so and going early. So you know, when that happens, everybody starts looking at the bench, down the bench, to see who else can make runs, and you know, get to yourself, and you start saying, okay, well, my turn. But it doesn't always seem to work out. Up at Somerset Cricket Club, Somerset scored 151 for 8 in their 20 overs. Matt Watson was the top scorer with 54. He hit 5 4s and 2 6s off of 38 balls. Teo Smith was the pick of the Southampton Rangers bowlers, 3 for 20 off of 4 overs. Then in reply, Southampton Rangers could only manage 108 for 7. Charles Trott was their top scorer with 40. Watson took 2 for 18 off of 4 overs that included a maiden. So Somerset was able to pick up a big win over Southampton Rangers. You know, again, pulling themselves out of that relegation battle. You know, looking forward to today's match against St. George's.
Yeah, that's true. It'll be interesting. I don't know if Gennaro and Dion played that game, but
Gennaro didn't bat. He did bowl, but he didn't bat. Dion did not play.
Okay. Yeah, so you know, once you get a player like Dion missing, I'm not saying, you know, that's the reason why, but if you look at it, those guys make the bulk of the runs and take the wickets. But you know, sometimes these guys have got to step up, and the good players are not playing. You know, it's like they depend on too many times. You know, the Stavros, the Tuckers, you know, Gennaro, these guys, they make runs. You know, it's good to see Charles Trott making some runs again. Yeah, but it's an interesting result for Somerset.
Yeah. And then in the first division, PhD surprised Somerset Bridge, and I say surprised because you know, at Southampton Oval, Somerset Bridge won the toss, and they sent PhD to bat. PhD scored 118 for 4 in their 20 overs. Now, that was the same venue that Bailey's Bay scored 111 batting first. Kevin Lamb was the top scorer with 52, which came off of 50 balls. He had 2 4s and a 6. Noah Woods took 1 for 17 from 4 for Somerset Bridge. And then in reply, Somerset Bridge were brought out for 69. Neil Takkar was the top scorer with 16. Jamari Beach was the pick of the PAC bowlers with figures of 4 overs, 1 maiden, 3 for 12. And Dav Howman bowled 3.2 overs. He took 3 for 15. Both games up there at Southampton yesterday were low scoring. I mean, if you look at it, PAC scored 118, Bailey's Bay scored 111, and both teams won, batting first, scoring those little bit of runs.
That'll have been interesting to see how the wicket was playing too, isn't it? But normally up ranges, the wicket's been pretty good. it seems like both teams are struggling to make runs. So
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what happened up there.
Well,
Maybe you know.
I saw a bit of the first game, and I think a lot of it was shot selection.
It could be that too.
Yeah, I mean, because there were plenty of wides, there were plenty of extras. It was just when the ball was a good ball, I think they were still trying to take chances, to make runs and so forth, and not respecting the ball kind of thing. So yeah, I think a lot of it came down to shot selection.
And that's, if you're looking at range of seal, is like, um, it's some small bonders there. They was probably saying, yeah, we'll probably try to target those bonders. And then sometimes, like you said, if sometimes you just got to remember the ball is the top of the bat, so you gotta have to play it on his merit. You can't attack everything.
Yeah.
I know it's 2020, but maybe both teams score 130, 140. They probably would have, like if you look at 111, both teams that won batted first.
Yeah.
So obviously, I don't know if they make a change or these guys got complacent. But if you look at it, 112, just over 100 something runs both games, and they won.
Yeah, amazing.
So like you said, it could have been shot selection.
Yeah, I think what I saw from Somerset Bridge, there was a lot of shot selection that their reason for not winning was really down to that shot selection, not respecting the good ball, and not putting the bad ball away. So yeah. Down at Lords in St. David's, Flax Victoria won the toss and sent St. David's to bat. St. David's scored 176 for 4. Derek Brangman was the top scorer with 75, which came off of 48 balls. He had 8 4s and 2 6s. Jemai Douglas was the pick of the Flax Burlers. He took 1 for 24 from 4. And then in reply, Flax were built off for 89. Jan Johan Now was the only batsman in double figures, scoring 35 out of the 89. Brangman was the pick of the St. David's Burlers. He took 3 for 14 from 3 overs. So, St. David's again showing their dominance in the division, which we thought would happen anyway. They just have too much firepower. Once they can field a team, they're just going to be too strong for many, if not all, of the teams in the first division.
Yeah, and I think they was a bit unfortunate to go down last year anyway, because remember last season, that league was pretty tight. It was like anybody could have went down, and just happened St. David's went down. I think that maybe they was probably concentrating on the Connie too much, and not really worrying about the 2020, because the availability of players kind of hurt them towards the end of the 2020.
Right.
That's why they probably went down, but.
Yeah.
It looks like this year they're concentrating a little more. They got a really good building lineup and team. So I'm pretty sure that they would go right down and come right back up.
Sure. And then the final first division match yesterday up at Somerset, Devonshire Recreation Club batted first, and they scored 179 for 6. Drew Ande Baskin was the top scorer with 82, which came off of 44 balls. He had 6 4s and 6 6s. Ross Solomon Burrows took 2 for 17 from 4 overs for Willicotts. And then in reply, Willicotts were built off for 92. Burrows was the top scorer with 31. Rudell Pitcher took 2 wickets for 4 runs, 3 overs, 1 maiden. Again, that Somerset Cricket Club field, just like the Somerset Rangers game, the team batting first, won by scoring more runs. Willicotts, we know Willicotts can be explosive at times, but built off for 92, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, that's a good result for Devonshire. Back in it, they got two beings on the trot now. I don't know if Willicotts underestimated him, but yeah, that's a good result for Devonshire Rack.
Definitely.
Especially when you look at Willicotts, they've been winning most of their games up in Somerset.
Right.
I watched a bit of that game and maybe 5-10 minutes of it, and Devonshire Rack was always in control when I was there watching. Yeah, Wilcox was losing wickets, too much.
Too much, yeah. It's one of those things. It's almost like when the rut sets in, and no matter what you do, when the wickets start falling, you can't stop it. It's inevitable that you're going to end up losing unless really two guys decide, you know what, let's just stay here for a little while and see what happens. Because as you know, if you've seen it, if two guys hang around for 4 overs, all of a sudden you start to see that shift back in favor of the batting team, even if the way behind them runs. But the fielding team start to get that mentality of, oh man, we can't get these guys out, and they start to get negative, and then things start happening for the batting team. But it's two players deciding to do that, not hit the way out of trouble. And I know a lot of these teams right now try to hit the way out of trouble.
Yeah, and once I'm sure scored that big total, it put a lot of pressure on in Wilcox. They needed some good partnerships, and they never got them. They was always losing wickets, so they was always behind the 8 ball. When you look chasing a turtle like that, you need somebody to have a good partnership just to, break the back. Just to, you gotta have, when two people in, you have to stay in, because once they're in, they get the eyesight in, and it disrupts the other team's bowling because the end are set.
Yeah.
Once one of them gets out, it's like the new batsman got to start all over again.
All over again. Yeah. All right, well, we'll take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk about today's matches in both the Premier and First Division. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy. But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born. I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
Are you seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Well, Doc, down at Wellington Oval, St. George's Cricket Club won by 79 runs over Somerset Cricket Club. St. George's scored 190 for 5 in their allotted 20 overs. Mackay Simmons scored 57 off of 40 balls. He had 5 fours, 3 sixes. And Onias Bascom also scored 57. His runs came off of 33 balls. He hit 3 fours and 5 sixes. In the bowling department, Sheldon Caesar took 1 for 13 from 2 overs. In reply, Somerset scored 111 all out. Dominic Sabir was the top scorer with 32. Jabari Darrell was the pick of the St. George's Cricket Club bowlers with 3 for 27 from 4 overs. So we were talking about, Somerset coming into today's game would have been feeling good about themselves, but there goes that St. George's just continuing to dominate this particular portion of the league, the 2020.
Yeah, very dominant too. 190 is a big total. You look at it.
Yeah.
So that's a game where Somerset chasing. They needed to have partnerships, and it didn't look like they got too many partnerships. In between there, if you look at St. George's team, like 2 or 3 guys came away with 50. Well, 2 came away with 50s. So obviously there's some partnerships there, but 2020, that's the thing. The top 3 or 4, I said the top 5 batsmen has to make runs. Because most times this is your best batsman, and then now again you might get a bowler or a runner that might come in to hit you a quick 30, 40, but a team like St. George's, they could do that. The first 5, if they get up, you still got 4 runners that could come in to hit the ball too. So, yeah, it's looking like they're running away with the 2020, unless they lose a few on the track. But like I said, cricket's a strange game. I wouldn't say that.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say that they got the league yet, but they got 1 foot in.
Yes, yeah. A loss on a Saturday and then a loss on a Sunday. The whole season's turned upside down. Yeah. At Seabreeze Oval, Western Stars scored 149 for 8, and Bailey's Bay scored 150 for 5. For Western Stars, Trey Mendes was the top scorer with 62, which came off of 47 balls. He had 4 4s and 4 6s. Courage Durham was the pick of the Bailey's Bay bowlers, 3 for 23 from 4 overs. In reply, Shirai Tavares scored 46 for Bailey's Bay, as they got 150 for 5, and with Rohan Davis taking 2 for 34 from 4 overs for Western Stars. It was just not enough runs at Seabreeze Oval for Western Stars, were they?
Look at 149. Yeah, maybe I think maybe 160, 170 might have been enough, but yeah. Then again, if you look at Bears been struggling for runs, but like you said, I think what they won that game because a lot of the top 4 or 5 batsmen chipped in, and end up winning. I don't think nobody got 50 for Bay, but everybody chipped in to help. And that's unfortunate for Stars because I think one of the opening bats, Boy Tavares, got 40 something.
46. Yeah.
Right, so he might have got them off to a good start, and Stars was probably always, once you get a good start, chasing a total like 149, it's all you need is a good start, and then it's the fielding team, it's they got to chop and change their bowlers, so that's probably what happened. They need to get early wickets for them to beat Bay today.
Right. And then at Whitehill Field, Warwick Weckmans could only score 73 for 8 in their 20 overs. Cleveland County scored 74 for 7 in 17.1 overs. For Warwick Weckmans, Malachi Jones was the top scorer, 21, and Makai Young took 2 for 18 from 4 overs for Cleveland County. And then in reply, Makai McGowan scored 23. They had an opening partnership of 44, but then there were no one else in double figures other than the extras on 10. Kushai Darrow scored 17, but they were able to get over the line because of the start they had. Luke Fulton took 4 wickets for 6 runs for Warwick, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, they didn't score enough runs. You look at it. I mean, maybe they score 120. That might have been enough runs. But like 70 runs, it's and like you said, all you need a good start from Cleveland, and that's basically it. And you look at Warwick's totals. They scored 37 yesterday and 70 today. Is like I don't know what's happening, but that bet it's going right off it's going right off it now.
Right. I'm looking at the scorecard for Warwick. So Malachi scored 21 off of 8 bowls. The other opener, Butterfield, scored 4 runs off of 8 bowls. Swan was out for a duck after 8 bowls. Jamal Stovall was out for 3 off of 14 bowls. Corey Burgess scored 16 from 24. Johnny Lee, 2 runs from 9. Ibo, 12 bowls faced, 7 runs. Luke Horan, 8 runs from 26 bowls. That's just you're facing too many bowls and not rotating the strike. That's a clear indication of that. I think again we talk about the application. You got to be able to look for those singles in there, especially if you're struggling. If both batsmen are struggling, the best thing to do is take the singles and keep rotating that strike.
Yeah, got to rotate the strike. You can't be facing 26 balls scoring 8 runs. Not in 2020. So I think they need to definitely going back to the drawing board. And if you look at most of the players, all of them was score was more other than Malachi, like 20 and 8 balls. And the rest struggled. The rest really struggled. I didn't know because Malachi got out, they was trying to bet the 20 overs out. But you can't bet the 20 overs out if not scoring runs.
But it's
not
interesting.
easy.
It's interesting because I'm looking at Cleveland's batting card as well. So Kushai Darrell got 17 from 16. Ty McGowan got 23 from 14. And then Makai Young scored 6 from 13. Stephen Bremer scored 6 from 15. And Dennis Musson Jr. scored 8 from 19. I mean, again, and the last 3 I named are senior players in the team. You got to be looking to kind of again keep rotating that strike.
Yeah, and both teams has been guilty of that all season. So I guess Cleveland was probably looking for the first win. They wasn't probably worrying about that, and they just want to get a win. But still, both of them's got to do better in terms of when you're playing 2020, if the building's tight, you got to rotate the strike.
Right.
And as you're gonna get bare balls, and another thing, you have to put away the bare balls. It's a must. You can't be facing like you said, all these balls and you can't score runs. You got too many batsmen that's probably down there in the tail end waiting too. Both sides, if you look at it in the league, well, I say the top teams, they got batsmen right down to 1 to 10 or 11. And all of them can possibly come in and hit the ball. I think Warwick's got a very young team, so
Yeah, they do.
Sometimes they are struggling for runs.
Yeah.
And with Malachi, he's trying to help them out. So I think eventually, they probably will have to go back to the drawing board, especially in 2020, and start, using up this, make sure they use up all the whole 20 overs and they got to score.
Set themselves a target for a total of 20.
Yeah, they got to have to set a target, a game plan for the first 5, 6 batsmen, running between the wickets and making sure that left and right. And, certain guys don't like this type of bowling. You gotta analyze the team and make sure they got the best players batting in the best key positions.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then we go to the first division. Willicox won by 22 runs up at White Hill earlier today. Willicox batted first and scored 115 for 7. Another low score at that White Hill ground. In their 20 overs, Ross Solomon Burrows scored 27. Sean Riley took 3 for 12 from 4 overs. But then in reply, Somerset Bridge only scored 93 for 9. Clarence Trott was the top scorer with 24. Tracy James took 3 for 5. And Sergio Reyna took 3 for 24. Both of them bowled 4 overs. One of the things I've seen Somerset Bridge play back-to-back games, they have a mixture of senior players and a group of young players. And they're giving the young players a lot of chances to learn whilst playing. kind of thing. They're allowing them to build. They're pushing them up the order to bat. And, it's not working out for victories for them, but I think they're giving them the opportunity to grow.
Yeah, in the long run, it will work out good for them because they're getting playing time. That's the main thing. And if you look at some of the bridge team, they're probably thinking like, we're not gonna, go up this season. So let's give the youngsters a little go and push them, and eventually those players will get used to, playing big games and having the chance to do bet under pressure. So it'll be good for them. That's what you need to do. Start, and it's always good to have the seniors with the
Yes.
young players to help them out. So that's good. I think PHC is doing the same thing with their players, some senior players, and some most
Right.
of the teams down there got senior players helping out the younger
Yeah.
players. You got to start grooming these younger guys to play, at this level, and
Yeah.
you got to give them a chance. If not, they're not going to play.
Right. Right. Definitely. Well, you mentioned PHC. St. David's made light work out of them at Wellington Oval. St. David's picked up an 8-wicket victory. PHC batted first and were bowled out for 67. Christopher Clark was the top scorer with 21. Eugene Bowl took 3 wickets for 5 runs from 4 overs that included a maiden. And in reply, St. David scored 70 for 2, with Ajon Lamb scoring 32. And Darren Gibbons took 1 for 27 for PHC. But again, we talked about St. David's just running away with this league. When you got the likes of Derek Brangman, George O'Brien, OJ Pitcher, these guys, and with the youngsters that they have, I just think that they're grooming them to kind of do what they done when they replaced a lot of the senior players when they were young. And I'm glad they're hanging around to ensure that these youngsters have some guidance.
Oh yeah, today is another team like they're playing youngsters too. Even in Connie, they playing a few youngsters in Connie.
Mm-hmm.
So which is good too. A lot of them they could play at that level, but they just need the exposure. You got to give them a chance. I remember when I played my first Connie, I was like 15 or 16 too. So um, that's a good time, to get that exposure because you when you learn, you come into the game like that, Connie game, you got people watching, people want to see you perform, and they're not gonna pick a person if they know that they can't perform. Obviously they've been doing good and training. A lot of these young guys I've been seeing coaching down the 19s, a lot of them some got good technique, but it's just the mental part of the game that they need to realize that it's concentration and like you said, when the ball is tight, you got to rotate the strike. You know,
Yeah.
so and the only way they're going to do that is they play at that level and then they give them a chance to do it. So
Good job.
I look at a lot of teams are playing the youngsters, even Rangers are looking at playing a few youngsters. So George had a few youngsters and they're playing. So you got to give them that chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cleveland Country's got a lot of good youngsters too.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The final first division game today, Devonshire Recreation Club won by 3 wickets over Flats at Seabreeze Oval. Flats won the toss and elected to bat. They scored 128 for 6. Kaiwan Franks and Zach Morris both scored 24. Lorenzo Simmons took 2 for 16 off of 4 overs that included a maiden for Devonshire Recreation Club. And then in reply, Devonshire Recreation Club scored 130 for 7 in 19.4 overs. Druande Bascom was the top scorer with 33, while Dejan Carey took 2 for 13 off of 2 overs for Flats. So again, Devonshire Recreation Club picking up 2 valuable victories, to put themselves in a position to challenge Willicots if Willicots slip up again.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Chirac on a little run now. That's a good result against Flats. To beat them. And then they won yesterday too. So and against Willicots too. Both teams. If you look at Willicots and Flats, especially in 2020, they're doing pretty reasonably well. And
Right.
for a rack to win, that's giving them the confidence in it. They're probably hoping that the season starts now, getting 2 victories
Right.
like that.
Yeah. So it's funny. So looking at the first division standings, so RAC won twice, they're on 20. PHC won a game yesterday, so they're on 20. Somerset Bridge lost both games this weekend, they're on 20. Flats are on 30. Willicots are on 50 because they won one game and lost, and St. David's are on 70. So St. David's have run away with this one. It's Flats and Willicots. Flats need to pick up some more wins to get back in line with Willicots. If not, Willicots will be the other team to kind of run away. St. George's got 2 wins, so they're on 60. Western Stars, they lost both games. Well, they only played one game this week.
Yeah, one.
So they remained on 30. Bailey's Bay got 2 wins, so they're on 50. Southampton Rangers only played one game and they lost that, so they remained on 30. Somerset picked up a win and a loss, so they're on 20. Workman's lost both their games. They're on 10. Cleveland County picked up a win, or did they win twice? Did they win yesterday?
No, they picked up one.
Yeah,
so they're on.
Yeah, so Cleveland County are on 10. So it looks like, or Somerset's on 20. So it looks like Warwick and Cleveland need to get another win to put pressure on Somerset. St. George's now have played the same amount of games as Bailey's Bay. Both teams have played 6. St. George's are on 60 and Bailey's Bay is on 50 with the 1 loss to St. George's. Western Stars are on 30, and Southampton Rangers remain on 30 as well. So interesting time for the standings. I mean, if you look at it again, I wouldn't say St. George's have run away with it because they're only 10 points ahead of Bailey's Bay. 2 losses and they find themselves in second place.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see who they play next and who they play too.
Right.
And then they maybe it might come to a point where St. George's probably just need 1 or 2 wins and they got the league.
Right.
So I don't know who they play. Well, still a lot, still at least 3 or 4 games left.
Right.
So I'm sure they're going to play Bay again. Bay will have to beat them this time, and then Bay would need somebody else to beat them. So I wouldn't say that St. George's outright got the 2020 yet, but they are coasting along. It's going to be interesting. The next 3 or 4 games.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the player of the week. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy. But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born. I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. Well, Doc, we didn't, due to some circumstances, we didn't have a show last week. But looking at the performances of last week, it was decided that Alan Douglas will be named the Player of the Week following his knock of 78 and 58 in two St. George's Cricket Club victories last week. So we want to congratulate him. And this week in the runnings include the likes of Onias Bascom for his performance on Saturday against taking the 5 wickets against St. George's play yesterday. Cleveland County took 5 for 15, and then today scoring 57 runs. So he would be in the runnings. The likes of Luke Fulton taking 4 for 6, but in a losing cause for Warwick Workman. You had 69 for 62 for Trey, but unfortunately
They lost.
They lost. For Bailey's Bay, Shirai Tavares scored 46. He also bowled. Did he take? He took 1 for 32. Others, it was just a mix around of others. Derek Brinkman yesterday scored 78 runs. 75 runs, and he took 3 for 14 in St. David's win over Flats. He didn't bat today. So others that would have been in the runnings from yesterday, Druande scoring 82 yesterday, and then he scored 37 today, leading Devonshire Recreation Club to 2 victories. Yeah, looking at those numbers and those players there, who stands out for you?
Oh, I don't know. Onias, I think Onias 5 for 15, and they're making 50 today. And both times they won. He's had a good weekend.
Right.
Also, the one day Bascom, his score, and who was the other? Oh, Derek Bangman too, with 80 something and 3 wickets on yesterday. So there's 3 outstanding weekends. But I think I'm leaning more to Onias for 5 for 15 and 50. 50 today. So he's had a really reasonably good weekend.
Yeah. I'm happy to go with Onias Bascom as the player of the week. Now we have to look back in August for the player of the month. We had the likes of Dion Stubble, Malachi Jones, Rodney Trott, and one other player. Who was the other player as the player of the week? I'm going to get it in a second, but I remember those guys. But who stands out for you? I mean, okay, so we remember Rodney led Bailey's Bay to victory in Eastern County. Onias was the other person. Yeah, Onias was the other batsman. A good weekend for him. Player of the week.
And then also Trey had scored 3 centuries too.
That's right, and Trey was the other one. That's right. Trey was the other one. Trey had scored. Yes, so it was Trey, Dion,
Malachi had a good
and Rodney. Those were the 4. Yes. Those were the 4. OJ was the month before. So, player of the month. I'm really happy to say for his overall performance in the month. Trey Manders would be the player of the month. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not it's not much people score 3 centuries in a row in it. It's got and they're still making runs. It's been consistently with stars up. 40s and 40 not
Right.
out last week, 60 and 24. It's been consistently making runs, and I think that innings against for Baylor's Bay, topped it off. You
Yes.
score 100 against St. Davis, and not easy scoring 100 against St. Davis.
Right.
Not at St. Davis too,
Yeah.
under those conditions.
Yes.
There ain't been much players making runs under score
Right,
essentially.
right,
So, so that was kind of unbelievable. And of course, and coming off back to backs,
Back-to-back
Connie
centuries, yeah.
games. Yeah, he was unlucky not to make one in Central Conference. I think that would probably been the first player to make centuries in
Each
all
of
three
each,
contests.
yeah.
Yeah, so he made 96 or 97
Yeah,
or something to do with the
97.
something to do with the scoreboard. And he thought he had 100 and he didn't, and he got out.
Uh,
So it's some confusion, but
right.
yeah, he's had and you can with Rutgers Berlin too. They're 6-4,
Right.
6-4, and then Malachi with Warwick, but it's kind of
Yes.
Malachi fell off towards the end.
Yes. Yes.
He started off a bang against Rangers, making a good 100, and they lost, and he's consistent. And he fell off.
Right.
And
right.
Onias is coming on now in September.
Yes.
Also, Alan Douglas came on towards the end of
Right.
of August too. So it's a few leading contenders for September already.
Definitely.
Definitely, and it seems like they're all from St. George's. St. George's doing really well from 2020.
Yeah.
If you look at it, ain't most players that's doing well in the 2020.
Right.
From other teams. Whereas St. George's is consistently winning and consistently making big totals and winning. So
Yeah, and that's the thing. You got to be able to make those big totals, and they've been
Yeah.
doing that consistently well. Yeah, they're
like I
averaging
said,
over 160 per game.
and that's and I think the lowest score they scored was against against Stars, and Stars ended up losing by 19, I think 20 something runs.
Right.
But I think that was our lowest total, and other than that, they've been consistently making big totals.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's still not over yet. I think
Right.
a lot of teams who know that the next couple of weeks is going to mean a lot to a lot of the teams, right down from Stars, right down to I think they might be a little safe now.
Right.
Stars, Rangers, Somerset, those teams work. They need to
Yeah.
pick up some points. Yeah.
Yeah. I know Rangers. They have those weapons of Gennaro and Dion. So if they need to pick up a win here and there, those two will somehow figure a way to get it done.
Yeah, I think Stars probably needs another good win somewhere. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
they
they
should
need
get another win or two.
Yeah.
And hopefully they should be all right too.
Right. If they got a victory on Saturday and Sunday, they'll be all right. They'll be straight.
Yeah.
All right, Doc. Well,
Okay,
good talking to you. We'll be
All
back
right.
next week, Sunday with another edition of the Island Stats Cricket Show. Do enjoy your night. Thanks,
All
Doc.
right, you too. All right. Thanks.